Hey Topher, I was doing an etymology search because, well, who needs a reason? Turns out watch comes from the Proto-Germanic word watchen, meaning be awake.
Interesting if true, Billy. So our podcast, We Watched a Thing, really just means we stayed awake for something.
Oh yeah, or at least most of it.
Well, having been awake is about all the credentials we can really lay claim to when it comes to talking about movies.
Speak for yourself, I've got legit IMDb credit.
Well, all the visual effects experience in the world doesn't change the fact that you found Passengers so emotionally touching that you cried.
Oh yeah, taste guidelines from the cameraman who likes Jedi more than Empire, really?
Ewoks are the best.
Are they?
Yes. And if you, dear listener, feel there aren't enough semi-informed cinematic opinions in your life, then a weekly dose of We Watched a Thing is for you.
We Watched a Thing. We stay awake and everything.
Find us at wewatchedathing.com or on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or anywhere else good podcasts are found.
Hello and welcome to the Contrarians, where we're right and you're wrong. I'm Alex.
I'm Julio, and thank you for listening. If you like what you hear, head over to Apple Podcasts to subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. Help promote the algorithm and spread the word.
You can also find us on SoundCloud to subscribe and review. And don't forget to visit our main website, wearethecontrarians.com.
Follow us on Twitter at Contrarian Prime, and to like us on Facebook, visit facebook.com/Contrarian Prime.
And if you have the willpower to keep up with our pretentious ramblings, you can follow us individually at Contrarian Alex for myself and at Ovnio for Julio. That's OVNIO.
Now, time for the podcast.
Hello and welcome back to the Contrarians, where we're right and you're wrong. As always, my name is Alex, joined by Julio. Julio, I feel like a rat. It's really weird. We're not here to talk about John Travolta.
This is as far as we could have gotten from the Summer of Travolta, while remaining as close as we could have gotten to the Summer of Travolta.
This is true. We there's a lot of the same ilk to this, but we're back here to assume the regular operations of this shindig we call the Contrarians. And for episode 68, we are here today to visit the 1997 mob thriller Donnie Brasco, starring Al Pacino and Johnny Depp. I don't know how I almost forgot about the star of the movie.
A version of Johnny Depp.
Yes.
This is not fun and games Johnny Depp. This is not Johnny Depp that we love.
This is not Captain Jack Sparrow.
No. This is boring Johnny Depp. I mean, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but
paint by numbers Johnny Depp. So this is based on a true story based in Brooklyn in 1978. It is the story of the man Joseph D. Pistone, an undercover FBI agent who infiltrated the mob in late 70s New York. And this is one that holds very high regard by critics and actors alike.
Fresh.
It is fresh.
The tomato meter lingo.
In the vernacular of the Contrarians, it has a fresh rating of 88%, so lots of fresh red tomatoes. What were the critics saying about Donnie Brasco?
Just a small sample of quotes here, starting with Michael DeQuina from themoviereport.com, who says, "A classy piece of work that may disappoint those looking for something more conventional."
Classy?
AKA a good movie.
They disembowel human bodies in this movie.
But classically.
Robert Zombie served as the guest director for that scene.
Mick LaSalle from San Francisco Chronicle says, "A first-class mafia thriller that is also, in its way, a love story." Okay, Mick.
Was this like Brokeback Mountain before its time?
I guess. I mean, it is classier than Brokeback Mountain.
Or what was that Christopher Plummer movie?
Beginners?
Yes.
Al Pacino
yeah.
as the beginner. Jeremy Hellman from MovieMartyr.com says, "One of the most moving and insightful gangster films ever made." How do you even...
Did he even see Dick Tracy with Warren Beatty?
Philip Martin from Arkansas Democrat Gazette says, "Donnie Brasco is a fine movie, but it might just be best remembered as Johnny Depp's coming out party." What movie did he watch?
I was going to say, wasn't he already semi-established by this point?
Also, I mean, he's all up on Anne Hesh on that in those stairs. Is he coming out as a straight male? No, but he did finish with a star. Check that. An actor is born. An
Nice.
actor.
What was his name from the Arkansas Democratic Gazette?
Philip Martin.
Well, Phil, well played.
Him and Leonard Maltin, they do like a little podcast, and they always do like no relation. Finally, film 4 with no credit to the writer.
Returning back to the podcast.
Yes. Says, it's tempting to think Pacino stopped trying sometime in the mid-1980s. But watch Lefty's elegiac final scene, and you might conclude that it's not Al's ability that dimmed. Rather, it's the imagination of casting directors. I mean, we all watched...
He was just Al Pacino.
Yeah, and I mean, you can't blame casting directors for the stuff that he's done in his career.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Adam Sandler movie, and I don't know, Jack and Jill, is that what it is?
Jack and Jill, Righteous Kill.
Yeah, you can't blame a casting director for that. You could argue the casting director did like the one good thing in that movie. Let's get Pacino and De Niro.
That was the
here
only
together.
aspect of the movie that overachieved.
Yes. But anyway, Contrarians Corner is where we rage against the Rotten Tomatoes machine,
Correct.
regardless of how we feel. If you want to know how we feel, stick around for Real Talk, which is the second half of the show.
So, the aforementioned Al Pacino and Johnny Depp are the two stars of this film. Pacino playing Benjamin Ruggiero, who we will refer to through this, as he is referred to all of the movie as simply Lefty. He is an aging gangster that has been in the mob, what he keeps saying, 30 years. He's so fucking repetitive. He's like the guy that gets let go of his job after 30 years. They give me a watch and a kick in the butt and say, sorry, a computer took your job.
Look her up.
Johnny Depp, who plays the titular character Donnie Brasco, again, real name Joseph D. Pistone, undercover FBI agent who poses a jewel thief. Now, right off the bat, it looks like Pacino is just kind of like this sad sack, a Randy the Ram type character.
Not my Al Pacino. That's really it's kind of like a bait and switch. If you get
If you're expecting
a gangster movie with Al Pacino on the poster, right? You think that that's going to be like, oh,
he's going to kick ass.
The Godfather 4. I cannot wait to see how many people he kills and how. To be fair, he does kill some people in this movie, but when it happens, you're surprised that he can still aim and shoot.
Tony Montana, this is not.
Oh, no.
So he naturally wants to hitch his wagon to a better-looking, younger version of what he thinks is himself. And it just starts by him just kind of staring at Johnny Depp longingly across the bar. Depp rocking an amazing Freddie Mercury mustache at the beginning of this film, but the FBI makes him shave it off pretty promptly.
Yeah.
I want to believe he just showed up on set with that and like, all right, we got to get a few scenes out of this.
Quick, get me the writer right now. Yeah, there's Pacino has his gang of mobsters. I mean, it's not his gang. He's part of the gang, I guess. And they're basically what you get when you can't afford De Niro and Pesci and
Ray
Liotta, or even I was going to say
Tom Sizemore.
Sizemore, even, yes. I mean, who would think, when you think gangster, you do not think Bruno Kirby.
No.
And yet, he's here basically playing the Joe Pesci role in a comedic fashion.
Like a Pesci caricature.
Yeah. I don't think anybody told Bruno Kirby that they were doing a drama.
And when I think mob boss, I think Michael Madsen.
I mean, when you think, I can't get Gandolfini, so I might as well get the next best thing.
Get me LaPaglia. He's taken. Well, get me his non-union working Mexican equivalent. We're
go wake up Madsen.
Yeah. We'll wake him up. Getting way ahead of ourselves here. Donnie Brasco posing as a jewel thief. I think if there's this, is it a test? Do you think he's testing him here when he tries to sell him this ring to see if he knows it's fake?
Now that we've seen the entire movie, no, I think the Pacino is so dumb that
old and senile that he just bought this shit ring.
As you see throughout the movie, you realize that if he can't figure out that Johnny Depp is an undercover FBI agent, there's no way he figured out that those diamonds were not real. I mean, he 100% believes that he's trying to sell real diamonds.
So he bought this ring for $8,000 and he's trying to sell it. And Donnie Brasco tells him that's a fugazi, it's a fake. And he says, all right, we're going to take a ride. He goes where he bought the ring from. tells the guy, he's telling me he sold him Fugazi. What's that mean? And, it's all this. I think someone just watched or hung out in Brooklyn a bit too long and heard all these cool, fun words and was like, I want to incorporate this into a film.
We need to get the Fugazi in there. Write me a 10-minute Fugazi scene.
That was a bit shoehorned. Screenplay by Paul
Fugazi.
Screenplay by Paul Adonacio. I think he just hung out at a deli for about 6 weeks straight and just picked up on all the local lingo. But this jewelry dealer obviously knows that he's in deep shit, so Donnie Brasco, I guess to prove himself to Lefty, just beats the shit out of him and takes his car.
And then you can tell Pacino's eyes just widen. Like, this man with the mustache, he's just suddenly...
He goes, hooah.
Pretty much. Pacino, even as a loser in this movie, he's always in hooah mode.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Which is just kind of, I don't know, can't you do anything else? Can't you just show some versatility? I mean, his version of a loser gangster is just kind of like a bad parody of Robert De Niro.
It's Robert De Niro in Silver Linings Playbook, ostensibly.
Robert De Niro kind of going for an Oscar, but not quite.
So we meet the rest of the gang, pun intended. Sonny Black, played by the aforementioned Michael Madsen. Sonny Red, who quickly rises to prominence in the mob for the intents of this film, played by Robert Miano.
Who?
Sonny Red. He had red shoes. That's all I can tell you about him.
The guy that you can't get when you can't get the guy you were going to get to replace Gandolfini.
He's the third string Gandolfini. But what's the name of the family? Bonanno. Some mob boss is killed dead, and it fucking shakes. It rattles the infrastructure.
The boss.
Yeah, exactly.
Not Springsteen.
No,
that would have been a hell of a movie.
If Springsteen was the mob boss, oh my god.
A movie that opens with Bruce Springsteen getting killed by the mob.
And all of, no, he has to be in the movie so he can have dialogue where all his lines are the titles of his songs. Like, Godfather, why'd they get killed? Because the net. So, yeah, the infrastructure of the New York mob scene is completely jangled. It's like fucking when we start off in Force Awakens, where we get the new order of the dark side.
I thought you were going to go just pretty recently, like at the beginning of Get Shorty, when they kill the fat guy. He has a heart attack, and then suddenly Travolta's in trouble.
Point being, Michael Madsen, Sonny Black, is promoted to the captain of Brooklyn operations, which really does not sit well with Lefty, because again, and he tells us again, he's dedicated 30 years of his life to this. He deserves that promotion, which it's not real work. It's not a real job.
Yeah, that's not how it works in the mob world.
No,
it's not that you get your evals and you get a little raise here.
Performance review.
Yeah, no. Here it's just basically you're stealing shit, so that's the reward. I don't know that, and then you kill people, and that's how it goes. By the way, this is a scene where they gift Pacino a lion.
Yes.
How does that happen?
And it's only referenced once in the movie. After that. It's a fucking lion. Let's do something with it.
Right. It's like they cut from the lion being in a cage and Pacino being like, oh, shit, I got a lion now. And then they cut to Pacino and Depp feeding the lion, which is inside the car. How did they get
it home?
Right.
Where's home?
Like, more realistic it would have been if they just cut to, like, Pacino putting a bullet in the lion's head. Like, fuck this.
Pacino has an apartment. Like, is he just, like, keeping it in the spare bedroom? For fuck's sake. Speaking of homesteads, this is at this point in the film we're introduced to Joseph Pistone's real life, where he's married to that kooky Anne Heche, who plays the Maggie character, and they have 3 daughters. And
it's that wonderful character we've come to know through many movies called Nagging Wife.
Yes, who hates his job, and
she just wants him to stick around for dinner.
Yeah,
is that so much to ask?
For Christmas dinner, and she has no interest in really hearing about his work or what he does, and it's Jennifer Goodwin in Walk the Line. When you're home, you're home. I don't care about the road.
I don't care about that Pacino.
I don't care about this Donnie character.
We get what I thought was gonna be speaking of kooky, Johnny Depp. You think Edward Scissorhands, Ed Wood, Captain Jack Sparrow, right?
Tim Burton
in general. When when you see that him and Anne Hesh stop fighting and suddenly they're making out on top of the stairs.
It's fucking history of violence sex. They on the stairs,
Right.
yeah.
I'm like, okay, this is why they cast Depp. We're about to see some weird shit.
Yeah.
And then it just fades out and they're just in bed post-coitus.
They tease us with this Wild Things-esque scene that's about to get out of control.
Right. It's like you don't do that. You don't put Johnny Depp and Anne Hesh making out wildly on top of the stairs and then not follow through.
No.
Or rather follow through off camera.
Who's it? Ava Green that Johnny Depp has that wild sex scene with in that fucking Dark Shadows movie?
Wow. Kudos to you, my friend, for remembering that. I've watched Dark Shadows.
Yeah.
Blocked from my memory.
I was going to say they should have just cast Anne Heche. Moral of the story is she hates the job, wants him back. Kids won't even talk to him. They have family breakfast the next day. Kids won't say word one to him. Due to the ongoing and increasing drama with this case, Washington's FBI office takes note of it. They send a representative down to meet with Donnie, Joseph, and they're basically trying to coax him into carrying the operation to Florida, if I caught that correctly.
Yeah, they have some other agent in Florida that could use some help.
Richie Gazzo.
Richie Gazzo. Did you get the actor's name? I know I looked him up and it's Rocco or something. It's Rocco
Sisto.
Rocco Sisto, a.k.a. I could swear I know that guy from somewhere, but we went through his filmography.
Sounds like a 40s vaudevillian actor.
I mean, he's a bunch of
Come
stuff.
see the Italian, Rocco Sisto.
Hey, Rocco.
Exactly. I mean, everyone in this is just a caricature of an Italian.
Pretty much. It's just, you have the main mobsters, and then everybody in the background is like rejected extras from Greece.
And yeah, exactly. But instead of like, hey, oh, they say, forget about it.
That's realistic. That's another thing that the writer picked up.
They all forget about it. It could mean this and this.
Were you looking for Sonny from Greece? And
I am always looking for Sonny
dude,
from Greece.
Sonny Red, Sonny Black, Sonny Greece. I was crossing my fingers. Didn't happen.
He just shows up with like the mink coat over him. Let's go get a slice of pizza.
Hey.
So it is up to Donnie to coax Sonny Black and the Brooklyn boys into moving an operation to Miami, at least visiting. Fucking Al Pacino clings to this. It's like, I'm gonna get away. He basically sees retirement.
Yeah,
It's La Boca Vista.
this is the Pacino Oscar clip that I wrote here in my notes, where he kind of gets to play a note that's not, De Niro.
Mm-hmm.
This is just Pacino old man, and I'll appreciate that. Human Pacino, where he's just they walk into this shithole bar that the other undercover agent is running.
Yeah, they go to Miami, and it's a club called the King's Court that they're thinking about taking over. And I do like here where Pacino, Richie Gazzo is right there, and Pacino is right in front of him, but he keeps talking to Donnie Brasco. He's like, I think you need to tell Richie to leave. But yes, so it's a very metaphorical scene and a good Oscar scene because all around it's just this shithole, like you said, in this broken down building. I think Pacino sees a lot of himself in the structure of that facility.
This is where the movie just misses a chance of really turning into something unexpected, something that we didn't. If you're not gonna give me The Godfather 4 with Pacino kicking ass again, then just commit and give me the movie about the retired gangster. Just have Pacino fulfill his dream of buying this bar in Florida, and then just give me like a solid 75 minutes of him just having adventures running this place and realizing that maybe, wow, it's a lot more work than I thought being on the straight and narrow.
And when someone orders like a shot, he rings a bell. He's like, "Who on the table?" Coming in hot. But yeah,
you have Johnny Depp bussing tables, shirtless.
Just the suspenders with the rag over it. But this is where Pacino airs his grievances and basically wears his heart on his shoulder. Not basically. He exposes himself emotionally to Donnie Brasco to say, what else do I have left? What else can I do?
He has that line, maybe my favorite line in the movie. Even a dog gets a warm piece of sidewalk. Jesus, who wrote this shit?
Fugazi. While all this is going on, we do see the FBI team that's down there, which features an unexpected appearance from Paul Giamatti.
Delightful.
No, me and Julio both popped huge when we saw him on screen.
We were clinging to any bit of happiness we could get throughout this movie.
It's perfect, too, because they do you hear his voice before you see him, so it's wait a minute.
Is that, man?
It's the Rhino!
Paul Giamatti has sounded the same since forever. So can you imagine when he was like a little kid and he still sounded like Paul Giamatti?
Yes. Where is the fucking popcorn? I said Cocoa Pebbles. That's more George Costanza. I don't know what that was.
Fun fact, Paul Giamatti auditioned for the role of George Costanza.
Went to Jason Alexander. The basic game plan from Lefty here, and he's having Donnie assist with him, is Lefty wants to meet with Miami crime boss Santo Trafficante Jr., who basically has run the territory for 50 fucking years. He wants to get in with him so he can set up an operation there. He wants to set up this meeting. He knows he likes boats. He's having Donnie try to find a boat. And here we have potentially our first inter-franchise crossover, inter-promotional crossover ever in the history of the Contrarians that we did not plan for.
I could not believe it when it happened. And I don't know. I'm not going to say that this is something good, but I'm just surprised that...
Oh, no, we go from bad to worse.
Right. Well, in the sense, I wasn't talking about the movie, but I was talking about just in the game of life. The fact that I'm still getting stuff out of having watched American Hustle more than once.
We can't fucking escape it.
Right. It just keeps showing up, and at this point, I don't know how to react.
And Chaz sits there just with, like, the bad guy from Inspector Gadget with the cat. Good. What happens is he's looking for this boat, and they bring up, hey, Abscam, they had that big yacht that they used. You could use that.
Now, to be fair, that you don't see that in American Hustle, right? You never see them, like, use a boat to ensnare the congressman.
I've blocked a lot of that movie out of my head.
I think I would remember if there was a scene where, Michael Pena was on a boat. But
I do remember there's scenes where they wear 70s clothing and it's supposed to be funny.
Yeah.
Well, here... Or 80s clothing.
Here, it's just basically... We knew it was it before they said Apps Camp. They said, that operation where they dress people as Arabs and just to try to catch the congressman, and then we just looked at each other and we're like, "That's fucking American Hustle,
motherfucker!"
It got back into the podcast. I thought we were done with that.
So they are able to successfully lend this fucking 100-foot yacht out.
They use the American Hustle boat, apparently.
And it becomes an American Hustle. There's plenty of women and men getting down and boogieing on that.
Looking ridiculous.
But plans go awry. Sonny Black got his finger in the pie. Did not mean for that to rhyme. And is able to meet with Trafficante before Lefty and basically set up his own operation in Florida. And Lefty immediately blames this on Donnie Brasco.
Yeah, the movie never makes it clear what happened, which I think it's just pretty lame. Because obviously we know, or rather they know, because this is based on a true story, they know if Joseph Pistone, if Donnie Brasco was the one that tipped off Michael Madsen. Mm-hmm. They know.
Yeah.
Obviously, he wrote a book about it and everything. But the movie kind of plays it like, oh, we don't know. It just happened. Maybe he did. Maybe he didn't. Well, tell us. We have every right. We're watching this goddamn movie.
Now I have to fucking invoke FOIA to find out if he really knew or not.
This is Pacino as his more sad sack ever. Mm-hmm. I mean, the score just goes to town.
And he's fucking sitting, watching them have a meeting like a dog watching the family have dinner just outside. Like, It is very depressing. And Sonny straight up gangster talks Donnie and says, I own you now. And he's going to stick him in Florida for the operation.
Can you think of anything more terrifying than Michael Madsen coming up to you and saying, I own you now?
Tom Sizemore coming up to you and saying, I own you now.
Excellent point.
Check and mate. Lefty and Donnie eventually make up. There is this frayed tension between them, but Tommy, Lefty's son, overdoses. I didn't catch what drug he was overdosing on.
I don't think they said. Donnie kept asking, and Pacino kept just shooing him away. It was like that scene in Harry and the Hendersons where they're like trying to get Harry to go away. They throw rocks at him, and Pacino's like, "Go back to Florida. It's for your own good."
It is, pretty much. And then he breaks down in a rather human moment, and Donnie tries to comfort him. All the while, he's just lying to him.
Yeah, I mean, why is Depp trying to pretend like he cares? Because this is not even part of the job. It's not like the FBI asked him to go like hang out with Pacino at the hospital.
Yeah.
His FBI undercover job is in Florida, but he came. Well, I guess he came to check on his wife, who's just completely done with him by now.
Yeah.
And then goes and checks on Pacino because why not?
And then doesn't she change the phone number?
Right. Oh, I think that's what happens. He tries to call from Florida, and they've disconnected the number.
Didn't change the locks, though.
Right. And Hesh couldn't like take that final step. She's still a nice girl.
Well, I mean,
at this point in the movie.
In the movie, yes. Donnie and Lefty make their way back to Florida. Things are hot and popping at the King's Court. It looks to be a very viable, successful, fruitful venture that they've taken. When the local PD, and man, they really go out of their way to make them seem like fucking Florida Panhandle hicks.
That's the worst.
What
How
you
is
New York Guineas doing in our parts?
I mean, no kidding. That's just some updated Deliverance kind of shit. Where, how are you making the cops look so much worse than the gangsters?
Yeah.
I mean, 10 minutes ago, you were trying to make me feel bad for Pacino, right? He's like left out, that his son OD'd, that just he has no friends. And now the cops who are actually trying to put these murderers behind bars, they get, they're depicted as the worst of the worst.
Yeah.
They don't just arrest them for not having a permit or something. Like they get them for not having a permit for the Lion, right? Is that what happens?
Yeah. Then the gambling, Donnie Brasco tries to say they're running a charity event or some shit like that. Yeah.
But they go in and they just destroy that club. That's not lawful.
No. Yeah, and it's just like fucking pointless destruction.
Right. Why would you do that?
They're just like breaking wine glasses and shit like one by one. It's like, what the fuck are you guys doing?
They cork a bottle and they just pour it on the floor.
Just looking into Michael Madsen's eyes.
The entire time Madsen is just like writhing. They're having like he's writhing in slow motion.
It's like Casey Affleck trying to run back to the house in fucking what's that goddamn movie?
Manchester by the Sea. Exactly like Manchester by the Sea. Michael Madsen, Casey Affleck, two peas in a pot.
The movie ends with Donnie Brasco crying and apologizing and saying we should have coffee sometime, and Madsen just, no, there's nothing there. And
I have a question, by the way, as we were talking about like weird depictions of police and law enforcement. How is it that the agent in Florida, Rocco,
Richie
Gazzo, how is it that he gets to be like the fun guy, right? Like Depp is undercover and he's fucking miserable. He's tortured and he's on his toes. And then they go visit Richie in Florida and he looks like even more of a loser than Pacino. How is he alive?
They should have at least gone all out if he was going to be the goofy guy and got like Daniel Stern or Jim Carrey or someone to play him.
So you're like, okay, he's goofy, but he's charming. That's how he stayed alive in this game.
Or like a really random deep cut like Kevin Nealon or something they have play him.
Or just go like even further off the reservation, just get Malcolm McDowell.
Completely no nonsense.
He's silly, but he's scary.
Yes. Like his fucking villain character in Tank Girl.
There you go.
So the gang, Sonny and his all his men are held in the Florida jail. They eventually return back to Brooklyn. Sonny Black is just absolutely, as anyone would be in that situation, embarrassed. But they did salvage the money that was to go to Rusty, who is this omnipotent character that we don't really ever see. Do we?
Well, yeah, because I think it's implied that he's the guy that got the cops, that called the cops on them.
No.
Or that was Sonny Red.
That was Sonny Red. He worked with Trafficante to get the place.
Oh, it was a Trafficante. Okay.
Rusty is just mentioned throughout the movie as a person that the mob consistently owes money to.
I got my old white mobster guys confused.
There are plenty of them in this movie. Rusty is actually Robert De Niro's character from American Hustle.
Deleted scene.
Yes. You see him in his fucking green golf blazer.
Dude, that is, I mean, this movie obviously was made before American Hustle, so really it was a missing opportunity on a Russell. Mm-hmm. No big surprise there. that he didn't have De Niro at some point take a phone call where they're like, it's done. And it's just fucking Sonny Red on the other end of
the Sonny Black. Sonny Black.
Super deep cut just for people who watched this fucking movie 20 years before American Hustle.
Yeah. But that's giving O. Russell a bit too much credit.
Everybody involved. I bet you De Niro knew.
Yeah.
De Niro is all up on his mob trivia.
Just sat on it. It's like, I ain't fucking saying nothing. So yeah, Trafficante and Sonny Red worked on this together because Sonny Red wants Sonny Black out of the game. Black and his crew become wise to this. They go to, I believe it's Sonny Red's home. It's someone's home.
It's someone's home.
And they know Sonny Red's going to be there. And they all just wait for them in the basement with fucking double-barrel shotguns. And I mean, the R rating is clearly there for the language. But I remember reading like the description. It's like brutal violence or intense violence, whatever the NPAA uses. Yeah, this scene had violence in spades.
Dude, this is, I don't know if you caught it because maybe I was laughing too hard. But because what they do, their big plan is they get the lights off. So they can't turn the light switch on their way down to the basement. So Sonny Red and his two goons are walking downstairs.
Crusher and Low Blow.
Yeah. And they're like even talking to themselves, like rubbing their hands, like they'll never see this coming.
Oh, dude, it's so fucking Scooby-Doo. They're just like, we got Sonny Black, didn't we? We got him real good.
And then
fucking mook or whatever he calls him.
And then they turn the light on and they see Pacino, Madsen, and Bruno Kirby with their shotguns out. And Sonny Red goes, "Oh no!" That was like worse.
As one would.
It's like worse than Sam Jackson's death rattle in Basic. Just, that's pretty much what happens. They get shot and there's a lot of screaming. It's just
and the big
messy.
boy just is like consistently just.
He falls on top of Madsen.
And then Pacino gets like a hammer and just hacks him to death with it. It's fucking brutal. And then they go and get Donnie, who's like out watching the car. That's his he's the young boy, so that the whole movie he always has to watch the car. Comes in, finds this pile of bodies, and they're getting the fucking silverware out to start hacking them up. And Nicky, Bruno Kirby, he's like, "Hey, let's go get this fat fuck." And then he turns around and fucking Pacino shoots him in the head. Taking it back a few scenes to when Pistone was meeting with the FBI, Nicky was at the same hotel, basically
just doing some business on the side.
Yeah. He was trying to create a narcotic ring, and he bought a shit ton of cocaine and had these plans of selling drugs, and he didn't disclose that to his boss, which is grounds for whacking, as Al Pacino explains a bit later on. But they were led to believe he was the rat in the bunch, so he had to go.
Right. Yeah, they think that he's the one that tipped the cops off and did all this stuff. Depp takes it really hard. He takes Kirby's death like he was his buddy.
I think he's more just put off by the fact that he had to take a fucking saw and cut these bodies up. Not a good way to spend your Wednesday evening.
Yeah, not a lot of professionalism shown by this undercover FBI agent. He mistreats his wife. He can't handle it when people that are obviously murderers and deserving of bad fates, let's put it that way. When they get hurt, he just can't handle it either.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And this is, speaking of the movie just earning its R rating or whatever, you want to jump back like a few scenes to when they go to this Japanese restaurant, and
I forgot all about that.
Well, I don't blame you because that's just uncalled for.
Yeah. Donnie Brasco doesn't want to take his shoes off because obviously that's where he has his wire attached, and gives this big MAGA speech to them about why we shouldn't have to bow down to other people's cultures.
We won the war.
Yeah, and then they just beat the shit out of this fucking maitre d' at this restaurant.
Right, and then it's like he didn't need to, but then he joins in and starts kicking the guy anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And then later he goes, I guess, to his hotel room or wherever, takes his shoe off and starts listening to the recording. I did not see a single tear of regret there.
Stockholm Syndrome, baby. What's going on? Because of this, Sonny Black is named the boss. He now runs the territory.
There's no more Sonnies.
No, there's just the Sonny. Brasco, again, takes Nicky's death really hard. Basically, he doesn't understand the mob way, and Pacino has to tell him this is kind of how it is. I follow the boss. What am I going to do? I can't talk back. He had to go.
I'm a spoke in the wheel.
I'm a spoke on the wheel. The FBI's come a-looking for Joseph Pistone. They have not heard from him in some time. And despite her pure hatred for him at this point, Anne Heche just doesn't. She's a true mob wife. She doesn't say anything.
Yeah, has he smacked her by now? No, he hasn't, right? Because I was gonna say she knows what happens if she opens her mouth. That's why.
Jesus. No, he has not. But yeah, she says, I saw him a few days ago. That is to say, I seen him. That's basically the extent of what she gives them.
Is this Anne Heche's Oscar clip?
Oh, no.
It's coming?
Her and Depp, I was about to say Travolta.
We're scarred for life.
Yes. Her and Depp compete for who owns the screen in a few scenes from now. Donnie is tasked with killing Bruno, who is Sonny Red's kid. They haven't heard from him in a while, and as Pacino says, as long as he's on the street, we're all in danger.
Kind of a shame that Bruno was not also played by Bruno Kirby. Just, shaved head,
big.
mustache, and shaved head.
Pacino reassures he has a coke problem, so he'll surface before too long. Donnie returns home. He realizes he needs to get out of this, and he realizes the doors are closing in quickly. And what this scene where he's tasked with this killing, we see through his eyes, because that's the majority of how Travolta. We see through his eyes and body language, as Johnny Depp is one to do, that he knows this is not going to end well, but he cares greatly for Lefty. So the gears are turning in his head on how he can get him out of this.
Why does he care?
I don't know.
What has Pacino done for Depp other than just drag him into this world of murder and betrayal and lions? I don't understand.
Well, he tells us in the next scene, because he goes back and he tries to find his bag of cash at his house. He has $300,000 in cash. He gets back and Anne Heche has found it and she's hidden it. This is the part where tensions are building and Depp's getting more and more agitated, and Anne Heche completely in the right. It's like you're fucking becoming one of them. And then he just decks her. And this is, to me, Anne Heche's Oscar scene, just the way she reacts to it. And I love how she just takes it and then just goes and gets the bag and gives it to him. It's like, I just want you fucking gone.
But then the movie, it's like, hold off. You're not leaving.
Yeah.
And then she turns around and it's like, why, Donnie? Why?
Please, give us an exposition.
Yeah.
And this is where Donnie Pistone explains that it's because, he stood up for me and he vouched for me. And if I, turn myself in at this point, he's going to get a bullet in his head because of me.
Yeah,
and it troubles me. And I think there's a single tear.
Maybe. I think that's CGI, because I didn't buy it. This is, I still don't understand. Okay, yes, he will probably get killed if Depp leaves the operation.
Mm-hmm.
So what has Pacino done that's any good to anybody?
Yeah, he's just mad at him like fucking 20 minutes ago for killing Nikki.
Right. I mean, he's a murderer.
Mm-hmm.
He's a criminal. It's not. They never show him doing anything good for anybody. He cooked some spaghetti early in the movie for his wife, his girlfriend. He doesn't even care for his son as much as he cares for Donnie. So is it just really all about Depp's ego that, Pacino gives him all this attention? So it's like, well, I kind of owe him.
Yeah, I think that's a good part of it. Father's son. I don't know.
It's just some weird bromance.
But yeah, to your point, Al Pacino hasn't really done many redeeming things throughout the course of this film so far. And this all leads to a come to Jesus moment as Lefty says, we found Bruno, get your ass down to the pier. They're sitting in a car together, and this is where Depp tries to give him the money. It's like, get out, you can do it. We'll go ride the Black Pearl from sea to sea.
And Pacino, because he can't let it lie, he brings up fucking American Hustle again.
He says, before we do that, you need to look at this, and you got to think real carefully about what you're going to say to me next. And it's an excerpt from Newsweek or a picture or something. It's the fucking yacht that Depp got.
The yacht with Bradley Cooper at the front, just going, I'm the king of the world.
And he says, that's a federal boat, and Depp tries to talk his way out of it. And at this point, I think Pacino, he knows, but it could be possibly just dumb and believes what...
I 100% believe that he's a fucking idiot and he doesn't know. Even though, I'll tell you when everybody should have noticed. When they were in Florida, they were having their little holiday and they're playing volleyball or everything, and all these gangsters have their shirts off. They look like shit, and Johnny Depp is the only one that's fit as a fiddle. He looks great. Now tell me, which of these guys does not belong here? Who's more likely to be an undercover cop?
I thought it was the scene where Johnny Depp wore the giant cowboy hat that clearly had a surveillance camera in it. They should have noticed then.
The one where, like, after his tape recorder gets smashed on his boot, he just pulls his iPhone out of his breast pocket.
Yes. Let's see. So after this long, intense conversation, they're still going to go for it. They do call it ab scam in this scene.
Yeah. I think Pacino goes like, abscam, you know, hooah, American Hustle.
Oh, Russell, baby. And they go and find this Bruno character, and it's time to kill him, and it's up to Donnie to do it. And he cannot pull the trigger, literally and metaphorically. And Pacino's like, do it. And then the FBI's there. The big fucking floodlights come on, and they apprehend Donnie Brasco and Lefty. And God bless him, Pacino's just begging him, don't say nothing, Donnie. Don't say nothing. I can't tell if he's still believes that he is, in fact, not a cop, or he's just, like, trying to save face and then plead insanity at his trial.
He's just in front of Bruno. At least, like, I had no idea.
I got witnesses.
But it's like, how stupid do you have to be to believe that he's still part of the mob? Like, Pacino gets arrested, like they put him against the boat, and they just kind of like walk Depp out.
They put Depp on their shoulders and they carry him off the scene.
I mean, they're patting him on the back and going like, "You're home, Joe. It's over.
It's over, Joe." Donnie. So naturally, this leads to Sonny and his crew having visitors from the FBI that just splorp a couple of fucking 8x10s on the table of. I guess it's what Johnny Depp signs at conventions, and they're like, "Here's his 8x10s of, he's with the FBI."
It's just him looking miserable,
dude. In every one of them, yeah, he doesn't smile in this whole fucking movie. And Sonny says, "Yo, they almost had me going there for a second," and they're feigning, not believing it. And then Pacino's also like, "Whew, I'm off the hook."
It's just this really pathetic shot of. Madsen, Pacino, and just like the one guy that's not Bruno Kirby that was also part of the gang, and
Potsy,
and they're
no, it'd be Duty,
the guy that you don't know,
yeah,
and they're just kind of like talking to themselves, but really it's almost like they're talking to the audience. They're like, "There's no way that Donnie was a cop."
Yeah,
nice try, guys.
And then Pacino goes, "Whoo."
That's like a really dick move from the FBI, too, because they know that doing that basically means that Pacino's dead.
Yep.
And yet they do it anyway.
Cold-blooded, man.
Law enforcement does not come across as either a kind of profession that you want to pursue because, you're a good guy, but also a kind of profession that you want to pursue if you want to make a living.
Yeah.
I mean, the next scene is Depp getting paid for his troubles.
$500.
$500. I know this was a while ago, but still.
Yeah.
It seems like for everything he went through, I know we have to account for inflation and everything, but still.
He gets a shitty little fucking Cracker Jack medal and then $500. But before that, our closing scene with Al Pacino, he's sitting at home at fucking 11 or midnight or 6 in the morning, whatever it is. And he's got his suit on and he's having his drink and he gets the call and he's like, okay. And he's been called for. And his wife's like, you got to go out this late? And yeah. But hey, if Donnie calls, tell him if it had to be anybody, I'm glad it's him. And then he goes and he knows what's coming.
Right. But why does he go? That doesn't make any sense. He was a loser, but he kept talking about how many people he had killed. He's like 26 people. And then, through this movie, he kills a few more. Go out swinging, right? You're Al Pacino.
I think he wants to go out with dignity, but he goes in his room and he takes all his jewelry off, keeps his wallet there, and kisses his wife goodbye. And then Johnny Depp's given $500, and then the movie ends.
You hear a shot being fired after Pacino walks away, and you're like, oh, they got him really fast. And then it turns out that it was Johnny Depp shooting at the range, at the gun range.
Just taking practice shots. Johnny Depp, Joseph Pistone is acknowledged and rewarded for his hard work and service throughout this case. And his wife says, Joe, it's time to come home. It's over.
And then we get this super depressing title card at the end that says that he's living, I guess, under the FBI, under the good
Witness
guy version
relocation.
of the and there's still a $500,000 hit, on his head.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine if you're like somebody that wants to be an FBI agent, how fucking discouraged you would be by this movie? It's like, wow, they turn you into a monster, they pay you in chump change, and then you have to look over your shoulder your entire life. Good job, movie. I mean, with that's why.
I don't imagine how many, aspiring law enforcement officials watch this and go, yeah.
On the other hand, if you're considering being a mobster, you're like, fuck, if Pacino can do it in this movie and he was a loser, anybody can do it. He got a lion.
I got a real shot here. He got a lion. Yeah, and if Michael Madsen, with that physique is considered attractive, sign me right up.
I can do better than those guys in Florida. I'll remember to pay the cops off.
Oh, mercy. My last note is if Donnie calls, ...
My last note is, did anybody even acknowledge that Bruno Kirby was not the rat?
Do they go to his... that's a deleted scene. Because the fucking director's cut or whatever is a half hour longer. So
that's where Michael Madsen goes to Bruno Kirby's wife's house and it's like, so we made a mistake.
So...
New information has come to light.
Lefty fucked up.
Don't worry, I already took care of it.
And then the budding romance starts. And that's how the different version is.
Right.
And his wife would be played by...
Bette Midler.
Jesus Christ.
In a classy bustier.
Oh, Sonny. All right. I think I'm ready to move this right along to Real Talk.
All right.
Hey, can I ask you something?
What?
What's forget about it? What is that?
Forget about it. It's like, if you agree with someone, like Raquel Welch's one great piece of ass, forget about it. But then, if you disagree, like a Lincoln is better than a Cadillac, forget about it. But then, it's also like if something is the greatest thing in the world, like Mingiro's peppers, forget about it, But it's also like saying go to hell, too. Like, hey, Paulie, you got a 1-inch pecker, and Paulie says, forget about it.
Forget about it.
Paulie, forget about it.
Sometimes it just means forget about it.
All right. Thank you very much. I got it.
Let me tell you something. I don't get this boat for Lefty. What?
Forget about it?
Fucking forget about it.
And we're recording for Real Talk.
All right, Real Talk for Donnie Brasco. That was a very difficult Contrarians Corner, as it takes some stretching to be very negative about this movie.
There were long stretches of the movie where I was like, how do I turn this into a negative?
I told Julio when we were recording what I really dislike about doing this podcast when we do good movies is I get lost in the movie, and so my notes are very minimal. So it's... it's easy to recap. It's just difficult to find things to be negative about. Unless it's one of these fucking movies that's rated really high but really is shit, like American Hustle.
Or if it's a movie that we know, like front and back.
Mm-hmm.
But, you'd seen this movie once, right? Yeah. And I'd seen it a few times, but
It's been
a while.
at least 10 years since I've seen it.
Same here.
So, Donnie Brasco is one fucking hell of a flick, but at 80%, it does mean there's that 12% subsect of society that does not care for it. What were these bitches saying? Were they saying, this movie, forget about it?
I will forget about this movie as soon as I submit my review. I don't know. Rita Kempley from the Washington Post said, unfortunately, the story isn't inventive, and Newell's methodical approach to it verges on monotony. Bridget Byrne from Box Office Magazine says, it's hard to develop any sympathy for the film's nasty, manipulative humans, despite the best efforts of all involved in this newest slant on the mean streets crowd. Desson Thompson from also the Washington Post says, for all its treacheries, twists, and turns, nothing really comes as a surprise. And finally, Marty Mapes from Movie Habit says, Pacino's performance is great, and the story seems to have an interesting take on human nature, but the bland, mechanical direction make it not quite worthy of a full recommendation.
Fuck off.
I'm sorry, Mike Newell directed the hell out of this movie.
Yeah. So to get through just the regular stuff that the rigmarole, the semantics. Donnie Brasco, released on February 28th, 1997, with a budget of $35 million, had a box office return of just around $125 million, so definitely fucking held its worth. Written again by Paul Anastasio, directed by Mike Newell, who also directed, what did I got pulled up here? 4 Weddings and a Funeral, Pushing Tin, Mona Lisa's Smile.
All those mob movies.
Yeah, exactly. Dance with a Stranger, Man in the Iron Mask. Oh, wow, we did Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time.
Hey, everybody's got to make a buck.
And he did Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Didn't the guy who did Gravity, didn't he do Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Afghanistan?
Yes.
Yeah.
The one where...
Alfonso Cuarón.
Yeah, the one where Harry and Ron and Hermione just get in the war and they're looking for the Taliban.
I still have never seen a Harry Potter movie.
Well, I'm telling you the truth.
Very well. Yeah, starring Al Pacino, Johnny Depp. It's fucking great. It's one of the quickest 2 hours that we've gone through on this podcast, man. Fucking... I'd be interested to see the director's cut or whatever the extended version is.
Yeah, I wonder what it adds, because this movie doesn't feel like it was missing anything.
Nope.
It just it's tight. It's
yes.
just airtight, as they say. Everything gets resolved. I didn't feel like any character was missing development. It could be that, you shoot a lot of stuff, and then you realize that the actors are doing all the heavy lifting for you, so you don't need those extra scenes because you have Pacino and Depp and Madsen and even Kirby,
Mm-hmm.
But I don't mean to disparage Bruno Kirby. It's just that I know him as a comedic actor. To suddenly see him in a mob movie is just weird, to say the least. He does great. I mean, everybody does great here.
Yeah, everyone's wonderful.
Now, this is a movie that I will always think of as Johnny Depp acting, like real acting. And that's not to say that, yes, of course he's acting when he's doing great work when he's being like Jack Sparrow or whatever. But just when we're doing the Travoltis in the most recent episode, and I compared him to Johnny Depp in the sense that I felt that the latter part of his career has been just playing just very big characters. Just
very Johnny Depp, like, he'll have these different costumes on, but it's usually always with the same delivery.
Right. It's not somebody that you can also identify as a human person. Right. Here, Depp is playing somebody that's human. And
yeah.
You're like, yeah, that could be me. That's somebody that I could see down the street, He doesn't have like the weird voices. He has like the accent, the Brooklyn accent that I guess gets more pronounced as the movie goes.
But it's not kitsch. It's not
at all.
Caricature, excuse me.
Yeah. Pacino is like verging on kitschy, but I guess that's also part
of
the...
It's a relatively tame Pacino.
For Pacino,
yeah.
This is very, very controlled. But also, I guess the argument would be that when you live in that world, you have to exude a certain persona. And there are moments in this movie, the quieter moments, where much like Kirsten Dunst in Elizabethtown, where the facade comes down and you can see just more like regular Pacino.
Yeah.
Like when he's saying goodbye to his wife at the end. He drops down the whole hoo-ah thing, and he's just like, tell Donnie I'm glad it was him.
So good.
Yeah.
So effortless on both of their parts. Like, we say, this is Johnny Depp acting because, yeah, and the first Pirates is a lot of fun, but like the subsequent 5,000 Pirates movies, Dark Shadows, The Lone Ranger.
Any movie, really. I can't think of anything post Pirates of the Caribbean where he's playing just a normal guy. A normal guy that's still interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was in Murder in the Orient Express last year, and he's kind of playing a mobster. He has like a
he was
scar.
outshone by Josh Gad.
Of course. Well, who wouldn't? I'm not going to hold that against him, but he's...
We're all human after all.
Yeah. but he's still playing kind of. He didn't feel like a real guy, and it's just that. And sometimes it works. I mean, I'm happy that obviously it requires talent to do what he does when he goes big.
Mhm.
Even like one of my favorite Johnny Depp movies, like Ed Wood, he's going big there. He's being really cartoonish and everything, right?
He did Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and Alice in Wonderland were the other ones where it was like, ooh, quirky Johnny Depp.
To put it mildly. You were asking me while we were watching. You were asking me about Black Mass, right?
I have not seen it.
I've seen it. It's comparatively, of course, it's toned down Johnny Depp, but it's still Johnny Depp wearing like weird prosthetics and just not really being a recognizable human being. So I would say that's a no for me, dog. That's
nice.
I think I count Donnie Brasco as his last performance.
21 years ago.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying that he's not talented. I'm just saying that I wish he did more like this.
Oh, absolutely. That's something me and my dad have talked about a lot because he doesn't understand what I mean when I say, man, I wish he would do something. He's like, he's making like lots of money. I was like, okay. It's like Adam Sandler, not that Depp. To compare Depp at his finest to Sandler at his finest, but in the same aspect, I'd much rather see Punch Drunk Love again than another Grown Ups movie.
Right.
But the difference with that is, I understand the reasoning is like Adam Sandler. Well, I won't make as much money. I'm pretty confident if someone made a movie with Johnny Depp with him acting, well, I don't know, he's got all that shit now.
No, yeah, now, I mean, it's funny because in the Travoltis, we were just celebrating the fact that we made it through Travoltis without Travolta being involved in any scandals. And then, of course, we just jump right into a movie starring Johnny Depp, who's just, not really at his best, I guess, when it comes to how the public perceives him.
Point being, he's fucking phenomenal in this movie.
This fantastic acting. And it's so understated too. That's the thing. I think maybe if he had continued on this line of work, right, and you weren't thinking Jack Sparrow or the Mad Hatter when you think of Johnny Depp, then this wouldn't surprise you as much. It wouldn't hit you as hard. But here, because it's
especially for you and I both, that like we have spent so much time around movies and we hadn't seen this in like over 10 years. So to see it again, it's like, holy shit.
It's like when we saw Travolta in Blowout.
Yeah.
It's just like, wow, that's right. He can do this too and do it so well. It's all inside.
The fucking scene where he's explaining to Paul Giamatti and the cop from Kimmy Schmidt about what Fuggeddaboutit is. So fucking good, dude. And of course that's accented by Paul Giamatti. What's Fuggeddaboutit?
I remember reading that because this was an early year release. So by the time that award season came, it was just people had already forgotten. And there was not like big campaigning or anything. But I remember reading that the one bit of campaigning they did was send the audio clip of that scene to just, members of the Academy or whatever. I was like, oh, that's cool. Not enough, obviously, because nobody talks about Donnie Brasco as an award winner or an award contender or anything, but they should.
And Donnie, I don't think Johnny Depp's performance would be in like the Donnie Brasco character would be as impactful if he didn't have, the yin to his yang. And in this fucking movie, he has two of them. He has Al Pacino, who's fucking great too, and like all joking aside about her kooky personal life and whatnot, Anne Heche is fucking phenomenal in this.
So good,
yeah,
and she does play the thankless role, right? Because so much of it is just her complaining. But I think that what she pulls off is that you can see that she can handle him. Much like, oh man, I don't remember the name of the actress, but Ray Liotta's wife in Goodfellas.
Yeah.
Where you're like, oh, she can handle him. She can, it's not just that she'll put up with the shit, but she'll also just smack him if he needs to be smacked. And here, obviously, she's the one that gets smacked in this movie, but still, she doesn't.
And I was talking earlier in the Contrarians Corner about Depp acting with his eyes and body language, and I complimented the scene in the first portion. That's how good it was and effective to me when he hits her, and then she just like looks at him like you're a little bitch, and just like I want to say no sells it, but obviously she's startled by it, but she doesn't like emote or anything. She's just like, "Fuck you, you're not a man." It's so fucking good, and obviously she doesn't say that. Just like with it, that's how good the acting is like. She says nothing, and I'm like, oh, fuck.
It's really good also in the first time that we see them together, when he comes in for Christmas and there's nobody in the house, and they have this entire scene in the kitchen that's just so passive aggressive, and they keep saying, they're saying nasty things to each other, but also shrugging them off at the same time. And it's just, I just loved it, because I was like, okay, this is how you figure out their dynamic, right? She's angry at him, and yet then you find out that, well, she kind of like sent the kids away so they could have the house to themselves. The whole thing is just so good. And yeah, you especially because she has so much less screen time than everybody else, right? So she has maybe 4 scenes to really make an impact, and she accomplishes it.
Yeah.
So,
and I don't really know who's the good guy and who's the bad guy, but as Kenny Omega would say, every fairy tale needs a hero and it needs a villain. I guess the closest thing to the bad guy in this is Michael Madsen, and man, he's had such a roller coaster career. It's extraordinarily easy to forget. Like, I remember when we watched Pulp Fiction together at the theater, and I was like, holy shit. But he's, like, scary.
Reservoir Dogs, unless...
What did I say?
Pulp Fiction.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
Like, yes, when his turn on Vincent Vega was amazing. He looked like John Travolta.
I apologize. Well, weren't they supposed to be brothers?
Right.
Yeah.
He's a Vega.
Reservoir Dogs. Watching that. But this, it's like, he's intimidating, scary, funny. Like, he is so commanding in the role that he has.
And yet, he has those moments where they're all losers, right? Even the top dog of that group, which is Madsen, they're just
amateurs.
They're amateurs. They're, Sonny Red and his gang are really the ones that are the popular kids. And
it's so well accented because, like, when they're in Florida, Michael Madsen's like, he's gonna take over the world type thing. It's great.
Yeah, he's really good. I think this is the first thing I ever saw him in. I saw this before Reservoir Dogs. So when I saw Reservoir Dogs, I was like, oh, it's the guy from Donnie Brasco.
It's Sonny Black. Yeah, I think a lot can be said about Johnny Depp, but this may be my favorite Pacino role.
Maybe. I need to think about it.
Godfather's something else. I don't want to discredit that, but man, because it's like this perfect mix of vulnerable Pacino,
yes,
mixed with still got some badass tendencies to him.
Pacino,
yeah, and get shit done. But we joke about it, but those scenes are like so well presented, where he's the old guy that never got the break, and he's really bitter about it. It's fucking great.
Yeah, the bit with the warm sidewalk, it's just so good. That and you can feel the heartbreak too. It's so well constructed. I had forgotten the specifics. I just remember that at some point he feels betrayed by Depp, but I've forgotten how bad it was, and you really cringe by the time it happens.
I'm so fucking disgusted in you.
Yeah. And then he has that moment towards the end when he brings up American Hustle, and he puts the gun to his head.
Oh, dude!
And I was
just like on edge, and yeah, it's so fucking. It's one of those scenes that you could have seen the movie 500 times, but still, it's like, oh. And it's one of those things too. We've talked about this before on this podcast. If you're your first time listening, Julio and I both find Scarface to be very not for us, and I find it to be overrated.
Yeah.
I would so much rather watch this where people always say that's the quintessential Pacino role, but to me that's just a crazy guy. This is like, I'm still a badass, and if you fuck with me, I'm gonna fuck you up type thing, but I can still present these vulnerabilities. And I was talking about the effortless thing. When the fucking King's Court gets raided and they're all getting arrested, he's getting pat down at the bar, and he looks so annoyed. Like, he's not even, like, selling. He just, like, spits his cigarette out, and he's just standing there. Like, all right, let's get this shit over with.
The next scene, when they're in the jail cell, they all look like shit, and Pacino's hair is just like...
Dude, there's, like... I would say there are scenes in this. There's only one scene in this, in my opinion, that is played purely for comedy. But that... shot, like the contrast of going from the chaos at the King's Court to all them in their fucking stupid suits just sitting in the jail cell, like, what do we do now? I didn't bring it up in the first portion because there was no really way for me to spin it being negative about it, but the scene played for comedy is when
The money, no, okay, go.
The attorney, the DA, whoever it is, they're like, fuck. They're in the airport with Michael Madsen.
Oh, yeah.
They're like, he's going to make us. And then he comes up and he's like, hey, Joe. And he's, saying his name. And he just punches him in the face. And Michael Madsen's like, what the fuck? Grab my cock. I don't know. Sicko.
I thought you were going to say the scene with the money where on Christmas or Christmas Eve, he gives Pacino an envelope with cash. Pacino gives him an envelope with cash, and then as he's leaving, Pacino asks him for money, and then he just takes the envelope. It's like, oh, no, you have it here. And then he takes it.
That's pretty good, too. That is funny. I love that, too, about Pacino's characters. He's so old school. He still thinks, just give someone an envelope full of cash. It's a sign of respect.
But also, he's such a loser that he's always broke.
Yeah.
So he's always asking him to pay for stuff. I think when they're getting the card, which is also kind of heartbreaking when he gets the card that's like from one friend to another for the mob boss in Florida. And,
Trafficante.
Yeah. And then they get to the counter and it cuts back and forth between them and then the FBI guys listening, like Giamatti and the other guy. But you can hear him asking Donnie to pay for the card.
Yeah. And also the main thing I remembered about this movie was the Pacino never rolls down the windows, but he's smoking with the windows up, and then every time Depp rolls them down, you're going to kill me with that draft. Yeah, what a hell of a movie to jump back into our regular cycle for.
Yeah, I think the one thing that needs to be discussed, just because it was brought up more than once in the negative quotes, is just Mike Newell's direction. And, I mean, not being flashy doesn't mean that you're not directing a movie the proper way.
No. This movie wasn't a mob movie about like fucking shootouts and like car chases and shit.
It's a character piece, and
it's about a relationship.
You need to have the discipline,
multiple relationships,
right? But you need the discipline to just let the actors act. So if you have Johnny Depp and Al Pacino and Michael Madsen and Hesh like just doing this great work, all you need to do is just put the camera in the right place, and the right place might sometimes not be the kind of place that gets you noticed as a director.
Yeah,
but it's the right place. You just let them act, and that's what he does here. So that's great. And I mean, you're going down his filmography. I mean, I don't remember the fourth Harry Potter movie. I probably need to rewatch it before I say that it sucks. But I mean, Four Weddings and a Funeral.
Yeah, his filmography was not like fucking Joe Carnahan or anything like that. In terms of just senseless, mindless action, and that, yeah, I think those reviews you read for the negatives, to me, were like almost polar opposite of my reaction to it. Like calling it slow, poorly directed. Like to me, again, it was like a fucking blitzing 2 hours. Like we went through it really fast, and I just thought it was all perfect. The dialogue was fucking excellent. And
I wonder if some of it just comes from expecting a very specific kind of mob movie, and then you get this one, and it's like, well, that's not. I mean, why am I watching the losers of the of the mobster squad? Those people wanted a movie about Sonny Red, and instead,
the successful mobsters,
right?
Yeah.
The cool guys. I mean, these guys, their big hits are just stealing parking meters. There's that.
I forgot about that.
Where Pacino's trying to break
just
the parking meter
hitting it with a hammer. They are fucking like the ragtag loser squad of mobsters, but at the end of the day, they're still violent fucking criminals,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the trick of the movie.
That's why that scene's necessary. It's really fucking violent, but it's there because, in my opinion, everything else they had done up until that point had fallen apart. So that scene where they kill those three dudes and fucking chop them up is there to remind you they're still fucking the mob.
Well, there's that, and then the scene with at the Japanese restaurant. Where you're just like, oh yeah, monsters.
Yeah, and the best part of that, like obviously there's no best part, but it escalates so quickly.
Right.
They just go from like, okay, we're gonna eat to just like beating this guy within an inch of his life. And that's a really good part with Depp, too, because he shows, like, the pity. He tries to help the guy up, and the guy swings at him, and then he fucking starts beating him up. It's a really good descent into madness scene. Fucking hell of a movie. Hell of a movie. And it's one of those movies that's easy to get lost in just, Donnie Brasco, forget about it. I assume that's what a lot of people think of when they see it. But
yeah, I can see it.
Or hear it.
Can you imagine, like, now that's been so long, and you're just somebody who doesn't know the movie, just a modern audience member, and you see, it's a mobster movie with Pacino and Johnny Depp, then you think you know what you would be getting into, and you might even not just watch it because you're like, well, I need to see Pacino.
If you've only
gangster
seen
again.
their work post 2000,
Right?
Yeah.
Like, is this a comedy? So it would be a pleasant surprise.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Kind of surprised it's only 88%.
Yeah, I was also, I thought it would be 90 and up, but
Give this bad boy a solid A, man.
yeah, it's still, I guess it didn't make as big a splash as it should have, and
A lot of that to me seems the release timing.
yeah,
Mid-February, end of February. Who the fuck releases a movie then?
yeah, what the hell?
Yeah.
This is pre 300. Those were really as bad release dates as September.
Yeah.
It's like
January, September, man. That's fucking doomsday. Oh. Episode 68 in the books. Up next. Nice. Episode 69.
when they open the books.
To page 69, they will find Buffy the Vampire Slayer from 1992 with Luke Perry, and I always forget her fucking name. She dated Alan Rickman
Not
when
Sarah
she was
Michelle
17
Gellar.
and he was like fucking 40.
What?
Yeah.
Was she trying to slay him?
Ew. I said Alan Rickman. That's fucking Snape, right?
Yes.
Okay. I meant Alan Thicke.
Oh, dude. Okay.
Christy Swanson dated
Alan Rickman
Alan
rolling
Rickman.
in his grave. What the fuck are you talking about?
Hello, Christy. Alan Thicke dated Christy Swanson in 1986 when she was 17. He was 42, or he was 40 at that point in time. They got engaged when she was 19 and he was 42. That's weird.
Yes. At the same time, it's Hollywood.
I guess, even like by societal standards, even though it's like legal most places, I think, if you're 21 dating a 17-year-old, that's still like, what the fuck, man? He was fucking 40. Definitely old enough to know better.
How is it that nobody just like jumped in?
She was this close to Luke Perry. What was she doing? She could have jumped on that gravy train. I mean, she was a gorgeous woman. But we'll get to Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It was you telling me that fucking Joss Whedon basically disowns it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't have the quotes. I remember reading that and just him. Well, I mean, the whole point of the TV show is getting it right. It's like he wrote the screenplay. His vision didn't translate. And then he did the TV show, which is very different from the movie. And that's the official version.
That was a big movie for preteen Alex. That was one that got rented from the Waterville, Ohio library quite often because it was PG-13. I thought Christy Swanson was really hot, and I thought
and Luke Perry made you
gave me the vapors.
Yeah,
made me question what I was learning, and that's probably the last time I saw it. So that's probably why I have a good opinion of it. I was like 12, so I was like, yeah, this is great. But we'll see. I'm excited to revisit it. And then we're going to do our Halloween bonus episode.
Yes.
And then we still need to figure out what we're going to do for episode 70.
Yeah, so episode 70
is a gray area.
It's a gray area. And the idea that we're floating around Contrarians headquarters was to have four potential movies we can do for the 70th episode, and just do a Twitter poll. And then just have people vote, and whichever gets the most votes is the one that we do.
I'm down.
So, do you remember which ones we were talking about? Because I know I had them, but I don't have them on this.
I don't.
I want to say it was
Secret Life of Walter Mitty.
No, because these are Halloween related or horror related. Remember, because it's October.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, Walter Mitty will be our 80th, I guess, because we've been pushing that one out for a while.
We have. We can set that in stone now because that movie is fucking fantastic.
No, okay, so I know you brought up Freddy vs. Jason, which is like in the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
Wolf, the Jack Nicholson movie.
Okay.
It's 62%. Brandon Fraser's The Mummy. That's at 57%. Brandon. Like Brandon Curtis. And then the original Saw, 49%.
Ah.
So all those, I think, movies that we can do something with. And after the phenomenal success of our last Twitter poll, where it was proven that the way I organize my Blu-rays, my Criterion Blu-rays, is
Like
the right
a fucking
way.
psychopath.
That's
Moving
just-
along. Yes, by feeling. So we'll put that out for vote, and then our Halloween bonus episode, we're going to be tackling Halloween 4 and 5. We're still tinkering with the mechanics of that, but it's going to be something we haven't done before. Pretty excited about that. Moving along now to plugs, our usual suspects. Festive Years, who provide our opening and closing tracks. Opening track, Last Stand. Closing track, Summer of 99. Their album, Don't Let Me Use You.
Our logo was designed by Hans-Ruth Gieser from the Nacion Combi podcast. He can do your logo if you wish so. Just contact him. His email address is mildemonios@hotmail.com. That's MILDEMONIOS. Or you can find him on Twitter at mildemonios. And like I said, he has a podcast. It's about Peruvian stuff mostly. It's also in Spanish. If you speak Spanish, just listen to it. If you don't speak Spanish, learn Spanish and listen to it. It's called Nacion Combi.
All right, so for personal plugs this week, I have a few quick ones to blitz through. So I can use the word blitz in this podcast. I do approve. Number one, I tweeted about this yesterday, but part of my thing is with the way I play video games, I don't really keep up with what's hot, what's not. Usually when I discover a video game, it's long after the public conscious has stopped caring about it. So I just started playing Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, which I think is from like 2 or 3 years ago. And I'm like, holy shit, this is fucking awesome. But yeah, I think there's been 3 Call of Duty games since then. So Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, the zombie game in it is so fucking cool. I've been playing a lot of that recently. Number 2, Ozark's back, baby. I haven't gotten too far into it because I just want to fucking watch it all. So I'm waiting for like a day where I can just go through it. God, I love that fucking show. And it hits you right off the bat. So Jason Bateman is fucking great. And lastly, been trying to just watch 2 to 3 movies a week just to keep myself kind of fresh, reduce the amount of wrestling that I'm watching. And
Movies that you haven't seen, or
just that, like a mixture.
Okay.
Dude, I started watching this movie called Silent House with Elizabeth Olsen. It was so fucking boring.
The one that's just all one take?
Yeah.
I never watched it, but I remember
I've
hearing about
tried
that.
a couple times and it's so boring, but I watched Up in the Air, which is fucking phenomenal. I think I talked about it in the last episode. Anyway, hadn't watched it all the way through in at least 15 years. Watched The Truman Show the other day.
Uh-huh.
What a fucking masterpiece that movie is. I think it's one of those things that's been lost kind of in time because the premise of it to today's generation doesn't sound really all that wild.
It's like, of course we would watch somebody
Yeah.
if there were cameras on them.
But I know it's often been talked about to the point of nauseum, but Jim Carrey should have gotten a Best Actor nomination for that movie. It's so wonderful, and the tie-in between that and Ozark, Laura Linney's so funny in that. How can I be expected to work under these conditions? Phenomenal. Excellent movie. If for any reason you haven't seen The Truman Show, or if you're just needing to kill 2 hours, definitely watch that again, because, God, I love that movie. And I forgot what a fucking heel fucking Ed Harris is in that movie, dude. And again, Paul Giamatti. When
He's everywhere.
He's like ordering him to send the waves on him. I won't do it. Give it to me, damn it. So, yeah. Watch Ozark, watch Truman Show. You've probably already played Call of Duty 3 years ago when it was released. But
Play it again.
Play it again. It's fun.
Still good.
It's got the bad guy in it is the cat from what's that show on HBO everyone fucking loves?
The Sopranos?
The Dragons.
Oh, Game of Thrones?
Yes.
Which of the bad guys? It's like a...
No. Like the bad guy in the game was played by the actor. Like they did like the whole body scan and like face scan. And the Jon Snow, the guy you're naming.
Oh,
after.
really?
Mm-hmm. And his henchman's Conor McGregor. And so like when they showed up, I was like, wait, what the fuck?
I did not know that.
What you got for us, Julio?
I got, first of all, like I said on Twitter, I have to replug Furious Timber from our friends at We Watch a Thing.
Nice.
So they just released the first installment, which is the first 2 Fast and Furious movies. But if you're a patron, which I am, you got access to all 4 episodes, so all 8 movies reviewed by them. all in one day. They start like at 5 a.m, I think, and they went down to like 10 p.m. or so.
God bless.
For the last two, they were heavily drinking because they asked for drinking games, and people like us submitted them.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun, especially if you're familiar with the franchise, which I am, and it's all the lead up to their 50th episode, which is the last installment. So it's really good. I cannot recommend it enough. I will play or I'll send you their promo so you can play it at the end of the episode here.
Excellent.
But definitely, if you're not listening to We Watch a Thing, now is a good time to jump on so you can enjoy their take on Fast and Furious. Which, by the way, they're doing this because they needed to free up a month. They basically recorded 4 episodes in one day because Billy, one of the hosts, he just had a daughter.
Oh.
So he needed to take time
Congratulations.
off. Congratulations, Billy, on both the daughter and Furious Timber finally coming through. Now, movie-wise, I just watched the latest John Cho vehicle.
Yes.
Have you seen the trailer for it?
Yes, I saw you tweeting about it.
Searching. Dude, so good.
You got a big old boner for those fucking Unfriended movies.
Can't lie. I mean, it's the proof is in the pudding. It's still there.
Yeah, because you like that episode of Modern Family where they do this.
Also,
yeah.
Listen, as long as you do it well, I'm all in. That's it.
Hashtag all in.
It made me think of back when the what do you call it, like when Blair Witch came out and then the found footage fad started, right? And at first we were like, holy shit, I can't believe they did this. How is it that nobody thought about it? And it's so cool. And then like a few years down the line, you're just sick of it because everybody's doing it, right? I guess at some point this will happen where we're just going to be sick of watching movies that are just all about
the desktop movie,
the laptop, the iPhone movie, whatever you call it. But so far, so good. I mean, they are 3 for 3, 4 for 4 if you count that episode of Modern Family. And here's the thing. I'd watched the trailer for this movie, and I thought it looked ridiculous. I figured I would watch it at some point, but it's not something I was going to make time for.
Mm-hmm.
And then Eddie mentioned at work that it was like 90-something% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes.
Wow.
And not that I put stock on Rotten Tomatoes at all.
Obviously,
you've listened to the show. But it kind of made me go and like watch it just so I could like tear it down. So I went in predisposed to not liking it. And Alex, within 5 minutes, that movie had me. I'm not going to spoil anything, but it has a fantastic opening sequence, and then it's just really well crafted. That's the thing, because it would be so easy, I think, to just take the easy way out when you're making a movie that's just basically a computer screen, right? But no, they've thought this world through, and they really worked on the details, which is much like they do in the Unfriended movies. The two of them, I've liked them a lot because they also paid attention to detail. But this is different. I mean, this is not a horror movie. It's more of a sort of like mystery thriller. Yeah. So you could argue it's even more complex. You can't just like default to like jump scares or anything. It's just like really, it's great. John Cho, like I guess it's no surprise that he can carry a movie, but still, he just owns this movie. It's his fucking face on the screen most of the time. It's either that or just a desktop where you see him like clicking and typing stuff. Just a lot of fun, and of course, it's released at the end of the summer where the competition is not as strong. They didn't. It's like, well, Crazy Rich Asians has been like taking over the box office for the past few weeks, but it's such a completely different movie that I think it's a smart strategy to release it at the end of August, beginning of September. Where it can get some attention. Is it 94%? Like what I mean, for the people that see that Rotten Tomatoes percentage and they think that it means that it's a a critically acclaimed movie, that it's a reflection.
Goes into the whole like thing about like it's not 94% like Donnie Brasco's 88%.
Exactly. Yeah. But it is, as far as like it's a fucking entertaining movie. Mm-hmm. Yes, it is. Eddie also mentioned that a lot of those positive reviews were like 2.5 stars reviews. Which again, well, of course,
yeah,
it's part of the problem with the way that people tend to read Rotten Tomatoes, but it's not a problem for the movie. So I'm glad whatever gets people to watch this movie, I'm happy for it because I think it definitely serves the audience.
Nice.
So yep, I shall save. I have a couple other plugs that I think I'll save for my Buffy section.
Sounds like a plan. So that's going to conclude episode 68, Donnie Brasco. Again, episode 69 is going to be Buffy the Vampire Slayer, so we'll catch you next time for that. In the meantime, as always, we appreciate however you listen, if you stream us, download us, whatever, through iTunes, SoundCloud, our main website. We just appreciate the support. In the meantime, from Julio and myself, that's going to do it for us on the Contrarians, where we're right and you're wrong, and we will catch you next time.
The summer of 1999, back when you blew my mind and told me secrets in the dark. I'm just fine. Thanks for asking, I just can't quite get by. That time in 1999, the summer of 1999, the summer of 1999, that summer of 1999.
Hey guys, do you have a screenplay you need feedback on? Well, you are in luck. I, Julio, the half of the Contrarians that speaks with an accent, I'm doing official screenplay coverage now, and if you're a listener of the show, you'll get a discount. Just email wearethecontrarians@gmail.com and tell us which is your favorite episode of the podcast and why. Turnaround is about 2 weeks, and you'll get detailed notes that are even more thorough than what we do in the show, although it'll also be less funny. For more information, email wearethecontrarians@gmail.com or visit our website, wearethecontrarians.com, and click on the Julio Reads Your Scripts link.
Your voice is beautiful.